FM and AM 1220.
Welcome to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits in studio today with Melissa Flowers. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Bob.
And I would like to, it's been a minute since we've been live in studio, and I am so grateful to be able to do this today. First and foremost, I don't really believe that there are any coincidences, chance or whatever, but a couple of years ago, when we were opening up the Way Out, we were looking for someone to build our website and do our stuff, and we have a friend whose business is in Newhall, and so we were in there discussing web design and logos and all kinds of really cool stuff, and I realized that her office was right across the street from KHTS, and I said, I'm going to go have a conversation with my friend Jerry and Carl, but specifically I had that conversation with Jerry, and I walked in and sat with Jerry for about 5 minutes and knew that we needed to figure something out to be on the air, because the message that we can give to people who need it needs to be heard, And so, that's my gratitude for where we sit with KHTS, and I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to get the word out. So as we sit here today, I want to ask you to do something, Melissa, and I'm going to do it as well. Because we haven't been here for a while, I want to do this. I want to send out a message of hope more than anything. I want to send that out, a message of hope. I want to send out a message of encouragement. And I want to let everybody know who's been sitting out there and just kind of is in this thing that we're in. We've been in this pandemic for a while now, and it is showing. And I know personally and professionally that this pandemic and what we've been going through is wearing people thin. We are, people are suffering out there. They're suffering with mental health issues. They're suffering with substance abuse issues and overall stress and relationships. And it's a tough time for everybody right now. I'm not even going to get into, what I would consider really positive changes that are in the middle of taking place is as far as human rights go. That's not today's show, but as far as mental health goes, so we're in the middle of a lot of stuff right now, right? And it's wearing people thin. And so the first thing that I want to say is this, is that you can get through this. You are incredible, awesome, amazing human beings. This anxiety that you are feeling right now is absolutely normal. It does not have to debilitate you. This depression that you may be in, this sadness, this grief, this stuff that you are facing does not have to debilitate you. You can get up and you can keep going. And even more, and we'll talk about this on the show, even more, this can act as a motivator for us to make some positive change in ourselves and the people around us. And so I want to start the show by doing that right there. And anything you want to add to that, Melissa?
No, that was great.
She's like, no, you got
it. No, just that you can do it.
Yeah. Have you had to give that message to anybody around you? I'm not talking about the people we work with. We'll get into our clients and what we've been experiencing over the last few months regarding what we're seeing in mental health. But personally, have you had to sit down with anybody and go it's cool, right?
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with friends and family and community just about that it will be okay, and that whatever that looks like, whatever coping skill they're using, whether that's drugs, alcohol, food, cigarettes, because there's been a lot of that, a lot of the eating,
right.
Finding solace in, your next meal and, finding contentment in the food. And so I've had a lot of conversations about being able to step out of that and implement some healthy coping skills during this time.
Yeah.
It's been difficult for people to pull away from, especially food. But
So let me jam you up with this, because I want to tell you one of the things. I don't know if this is, I have this sort of chronic positive outlook. Where no matter what's going on in the back of my head, I'm going, it's going to get better. Like, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to say that I want to call this awesome, although it's been difficult. I have had some of the most awesome yet difficult conversations with my kids about the state of the world right now. Mm-hmm. Because we're together.
yeah,
We're together. We don't have the opportunities that we've had to go out and distract ourselves
Yeah.
with stuff. You know what I mean? It's like toned down, right? And so, like today when I left, I left the kids with somebody watching them, right? And when we were driving over here, I said to you, I'm like, oh my God, I just realized that's the first time that I haven't been with my kids
in months.
in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Every day I've been with them, and when I'm not, they're with their mom. But we've been together as a family for the last 3 months,
Yeah.
nonstop. And right now, as I was driving away and leaving them with somebody to watch them, I was like, it was
Yeah.
a trip, right? But we've had those awesome conversations. Now I know that I don't know if Ronnie's listening to this, but I know that you have a daughter she's 15?
Just turned 15.
15-year-old daughter,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's the conversation look like today around all of this,
Well, it's interesting. She's always been one to roll with whatever Dad and I say anyway. She's never been one to question much. But honestly, the conversation looks like, what does this mean for people that are sick?
Oh,
She's
got it.
very concerned with people who have underlying health issues.
Right.
So she's more of the, I don't want to say selfless, but yeah, I mean, she's not worried about when she gets to go back to the mall. She's not like the average 15-year-old that just wants to go hang out with their friends. She's really concerned about the elderly and about people who have underlying health conditions and, are they going to die? And she has so many questions centered around that and what can she do for others to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
We have been staying home as well. Even we'll talk about it later, but we were even doing telemedicine, from home or from the office. So we haven't really gone many places. And she has one person she's seen this, and that was just in the last month. She's not too concerned with going back out. She's concerned with how to protect people once we do go back out.
Right.
Once things are open, how do we not catch it and bring it to somebody who is,
Yeah, I
underlying
don't
health issue.
I don't
That's
know.
what our conversations have looked like.
And I don't know that even the experts know enough about COVID-19 to really predict what's going to happen. I mean, we're taking all the safety precautions, and that is cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather, the same as we teach our, especially adolescent families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Families of adolescents who are dabbling in drugs and using, substances and have
Yeah.
mental health issues. Is I would rather err on the side of being overly cautious than say, oh, it's a free-for-all, and all of a sudden, unnecessarily, all these people are catching it. And so, I'm glad that she has that right there.
It's also been another opportunity for me as a recovering addict to display healthy coping skills in the sense of this is, I'm not relapsing. Like these are the things that I do, and she knows a lot about my addiction. So she gets to watch us go through crisis and figure it out sober.
Yeah.
And so it's been a good example to her of having those open conversations with you don't have to pick up a drink or a drug. You can work through it. Even if you're losing your job, even if you're not working, even if schools are closed down, even if it's causing mental and emotional stress, anxiety, even signs or symptoms of depression, you don't have to pick up a drink or a drug. And I get to show her the healthy things we do. We call our friends. Okay, there's not many AA meetings in person, but there's online. So you do that, and so there's so many different things I get to show her how I take a step forward.
Well, that's the neatest thing about being a parent, right? Is if you're doing your job, you don't have to make your kids do anything. You just lead by example,
Yeah.
and they go, oh, if mom and dad's doing it, then we're doing it too. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing that we can do. That's a good, I don't want to get too much of the show on the front end.
Yeah.
I know that we need to go to a break a while ago, and I kind of got into that. And so that's a good segue into us taking a break. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone that we have been open. The Way Out Recovery SCV has been open and operating the entire time through this pandemic. The difference is that as of today, we are going to follow the protocols and the guidelines that are set out by Los Angeles County and the state of California, but we are opening back up with physical groups starting today on a limited basis. And it's filling up quick already. The guidelines say that we limit our groups to 10 people.
Including ourselves.
And so we are absolutely doing that. But 10 people is already there. And so we're going to start splitting groups and making sure that it all works out. But we want everyone to know that if you are out there suffering, please make the phone call. We will make sure that you get the services that you need. We're a local intensive outpatient program focused on substance abuse and mental health. But primarily substance abuse. We are contracted with most major insurance companies, and so we can get you treated if you give us a call. We treat adolescents, teenagers, and their families, and we also treat adults and their families who are suffering with substance abuse and mental health issues. Go to our website, thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. Give us a call, 661-296-4444, or drop on by. We're on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyon, 28118 Bouquet Canyon Road, in the shopping center with the 7-Eleven and the Vincenzo's and the La Casino. We're right in that same place. Drop on by and pay us a visit. We don't have people hanging out in our lobby, but when you come to the door, we will greet you at the door, and we will make sure that you get what you need. So again, give us a call, 661-296-4444. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other, dare I call it a pandemic, that has been happening but is increasing and going to continue to increase, and we need to be aware of it and make sure that we are all prepared for the mental health and substance abuse wave that is increasing because of this pandemic. I'm Bob Sharits. This is Melissa Flowers. We will be back in a couple of minutes.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, SCV.
Hey, Dutton Plumbing, it's Eric.
Son, it's Mother. We need to talk about me running for president. People are telling me I should run, like Ernesto. He said, who better to clean up all the crap in Washington than me, a plumber's mother.
Wait, hold it. Who's Ernesto?
And Erica, the girl downstairs, said Dutton Plumbing's drain clearing saved her money and protected her from a scary situation. Now, isn't that exactly what people want in a president? I think she could help me with that Milano vote.
I think you mean millennials, Mom, not Milano.
I was thinking about cookies. I'm hungry.
Well, if you're serious about running for president, Mom, maybe Dutton Plumbing can help sponsor you?
I need a couple of $100,000 for a facelift, a boob lift.
Sorry, Mom, you're breaking up.
DuttonPlumbing.com. Get Dutton Plumbing's $73 drain clearing. It flows or it's free with a money-back guarantee. Details at DuttonPlumbing.com.
Who says nothing good happens after midnight? Denny's is best known for their breakfast served round the clock, like the Grand Slam. But you can enjoy breakfast, lunch, or dinner in a casual atmosphere 24/7. At Denny's, the lunch and dinner menu has a variety of appetizers, craveable burgers, salads, and entrees, along with the best desserts in town. Wherever you live in Santa Clarita, there's a Denny's close by. If you're pulling an all-nighter or don't feel like cooking, get into Denny's today. Good stuff is happening at Denny's.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
HometownStation.com is the best for information on COVID-19 and the Santa Clarita Valley.
It's who we are.
I got no excuses.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits in studio today with Melissa Flowers, and I would like to say welcome back, live and in studio. I'm really happy that we're back up and doing this. Make sure, let's get a couple of things out of the way. Make sure that you are subscribing to the KHTS website. You will get news and information in your inbox if you go to their website at hometownstation.com. There's also a free app, the KHTS app that you can download on your tablet or smart device. Make sure that you get that. You'll get up-to-date news and weather and traffic and all the good stuff, and you can listen live to shows like this. You can also get our previous podcasts in a couple of different places. You can find us on Facebook. We're the Way Out Recovery SCV Facebook page, or you can go to KHTS Radio Facebook page. You can find us at hometownstation.com at the previous podcast, or you can find us on our website at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. And if you are listening to us live, you're listening on either 98.1 FM or AM 1220. Melissa's like, why are you pointing at me? Or AM 1220. And I just want to make sure that everybody's tuned in every week. We have lined up for you for the rest of the summer and through the year some really incredible guests. What we like to do around here is we like to bring in other persons who are in the mental health and substance abuse field, experts, organizations, helpful community organizations, and get them on air so that more than anything, the person who is listening that is struggling or suffering right now has resources to call. That is our number one goal. And so we try to bring in guests that will accentuate all the wonderful things that are happening here in the Santa Clarita Valley as far as help for those who are struggling or suffering with whatever you need help with. And so, so stay tuned to us here every week, Mondays at noon. Melissa and I came in with an agenda today to talk about a couple of different things, and I think it's really, really important. I don't think that I even have to say this, but when I say it, people are probably going to go, "Oh yeah, that is happening." The increase in stress right now for the last 3 months, with all the stuff that's been going on, there's an increase in stress, and I want everyone who's listening to take a minute and to just stop and check in with your body right now. I don't know about you, but when I do that, I can feel that I'm clenching my jaw more these days. I'm biting my lip more. I'm feeling this like anxiety that's sitting out there, and I would consider myself having a pretty good mental health ongoing program. Like, I take care of myself pretty well. I check in with my therapist. I talk to my people. I go to meetings.
Yeah.
I exercise. I eat pretty good. I do all of that stuff, and I'm feeling it. And so I can't imagine what it's like for those who don't have,
Yeah.
How about you, Melissa? You been going through that stuff as well?
Yeah, the anxiety inside and not knowing what to do with it or what it's stemming from, tightness in my back, I think the racing thoughts about what's next and what's going to happen and how...
Like the uncertainty, right?
Yeah, the uncertainty, it doesn't settle well, And so over the last 3 months, it's been a lot of, okay, and then if they do this, a lot of wondering.
Oh, God.
Wondering.
Yeah.
And so
makes sense.
I don't know what to do with that. But I also, talk to other people and do meetings and do things, and I still feel like that.
Yeah.
I still feel like that uncertainty sitting on my shoulders of what's going to be next. And so,
and you know, if we're getting completely honest right here and being, you know, self-disclosing, you know, it's really been kind of a roller coaster the last 3 months for me. There have honestly been times when I've gotten hit with some waves of depression as well. And and here's what it looks like for me, and then I'll ask you the same thing. What it looks like for me is I'll get hit with this overwhelming like why bother kind of feeling, almost like, God, there's so much negativity out there, and why even bother trying anymore? And I get stuck in this thing, right? It doesn't last very long for me. Like, I get up, and I have these two beautiful children that they're gonna get up and go, hey, Dad, no matter what anyway, right? But I have to keep that in check and be aware of that, right? And so, what does that look like for you?
Similar, but it looks more like the little waves of depression that I get are more like, why, not necessarily why bother, but I guess, what's the point? Or there's no sense in getting up. But I also have a daughter that, self-disclosure, that's been working through some of her own anxiety and depression. And so a lot of me wants to just get up and show her that you have to get up regardless.
To be an example.
Yeah, but it looks a lot like, what's the point of getting dressed today?
Yeah.
Why do I need to shower? I mean, I get up and do these things, but it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not leaving my house, or there's nothing to do. And so it does look a lot like that, except for that I'm an example to someone who already is struggling with their own mental health. And so I want to be the example that through that, we walk through that by getting up and doing the things we don't feel like doing, taking the shower when we see no point in leaving the house, or getting dressed just to sit in our kitchen, or just the things that we have to do on a daily basis to show her that we do them to feel good about ourselves, not because we're going somewhere else to look good for somebody. And so I've been experiencing a lot of that. And there has been a wave of, not just with coronavirus, with, you know, lack of employment or other things going on.
Well, I want to ask you specifically about that as well, because you and I, so I want to, you know, I want to thank the powers that be and whoever's listening, and God, if you will, and whatever. Yeah. But you and I sit in a position where we are blessed to be able to provide an essential service.
Yes.
And so employment-wise, we've been working, which is nice. That's consistent as far as finances go. Like, we receive a paycheck, right?
Yes.
But both of us have people directly. So Jack and Dean's mom was has been unemployed, right? And she's got that extra worry, you know. Yeah. And your husband, same thing. So Richard's sitting in the same place. And I know that a lot of us, you know, we value what we do, and we really get a lot of value out of being able to provide for our family. And when
that's taken away,
I don't really want to say when you're the man in the family, because that's really sounds sexist. However, I think that men put more stock in
being a provider.
In being a provider as their identity, right? Mm-hmm. And so take that away, and now there's no work. Yeah. And I'm sitting at home going, I can't distract myself with sports. Right. It's not happening. Right now, right? Like and so what do I do with that? And so, you know, how has that been as a wife to be able to, you guys make it through that?
So it's been a lot like just supporting each other, because in the beginning, I don't know how anybody else felt, but it felt like, oh, okay, you don't have to go to work. It kind of just felt like a vacation or something. Oh, we're all home together. Yeah. But then when it came to the point where every day I was going to what I consider my little office, and I was actually working at home, and he would sit there and have no control over, you know, what was going on, it didn't feel good for him, and we would have those conversations. That's the one thing I can say about our relationship. It's very transparent relationship. He's not the emotional guy. He doesn't want to tell you how he feels, but we sat down and talked about what that looks like, because he would say, well, you're over there and you're working even though you're home, so it's not like we're spending time together. And he wanted to be working, so he either found things to do around the house even though it wasn't profitable, you know, in our pocketbook, or you know, I would tell him, well, call somebody, because he's in the program as well. And so it looked more like we were talking, but yeah, that affected him mental health, the anxiety, the depression he'd fall in, and thank goodness that we're off, you know, like, so if I'm feeling like that, he's not. Right. And if he's feeling like that, I'm usually not. And so we can pull each other out of that. But the main thing I put emphasis on with him was we've always been a team. And there were year periods of time where I didn't work, and he had to support the family solely based on his own income. And there were times we both worked, And right now it's just a hump in the road where I'm able to, like you said, thank the powers that be, thank our employer, thank the people who kept us, working, that I was able to do that and him be home, and so it's just a reminder that we're a team and that it wasn't in his control. And I think remembering for everybody that what's going on around us, at least with the pandemic, is not in our control. And that's a hard thing to face because we want to fix and we want to do the next indicated step and get back to normal or whatever that looks like. And so it's really hard to, it's our first step. Admit that I'm powerless.
That's right.
You know?
Right. So in the recovery process, and that's been a trip too, because you and I are both in the recovery, I can't highlight enough for anybody else. I mean, this is kind of a given for us, but we need to talk about it, right? Is that in the mental health world, in the substance abuse world, anybody who considers themselves in that part of it, right? And, truth be told, I think that everybody could use a little bit of coping skills and help with that, right? But those who have crossed into a line of it being pathological, which means that whatever mental health disorder you're suffering from, even if that's substance abuse, is causing significant problems in your life, right? It's taken away from other things. If those that are in that world as well, we're kind of in this catch-22, right? Is if we don't access our community, if we're not hugging each other and loving each other and spending time together, then we isolate, and then the other side, then, if we're doing that, then we run the risk of this pandemic, we increase the risk if we're together like that. But if we don't do that, we're increasing the risk of our other
relapse,
potentially fatal disease getting us, right? And so we sit in the middle of this place, and it's been real interesting to watch our recovery community and how they have really risen to that challenge. Overnight,
Zoom
from the time
meetings.
that we couldn't meet, the very next day there were thousands and thousands and thousands of online 12-step meetings.
Yeah.
Boom, across the board. So we have access to that stuff, but God, I miss meetings.
I know.
I love meetings,
I was thinking
and
about
I
that.
miss them, man.
One of the most difficult things for me in tapping into my skills or my ability to cope is that I could always run to a meeting, and in the beginning it was nice too. It was like, oh, you go to your computer and there's everybody. Again, like a vacation. You don't have to get up. You don't have to go anywhere. But after a certain amount of time, you're you need human interaction.
I'm over it.
I'm
over it.
Yeah, and I love what you said that, they did overnight. People were messaging me, come to my meeting, especially because I'm already
literally the next day.
Yeah.
You cannot disrupt.
And I was already tied into the
recovery.
recovery community.
Yeah.
So I had, at least 20 people texting me, there's a meeting here, there's a meeting here. And then that spread into like Facebook pages and community support. But I miss people. And I would give anything when everything is safe to put on my clothes and have to drive 20 minutes to see people, And I don't know what that looks like or if that's even going to happen anytime soon. But I do miss people. And community support is one of my topmost coping skills. But I've been utilizing it in phone calls, in Zoom meetings. I have friends that we have, coffee dates, and we sit on Zoom and we have coffee together. And so I'm trying to utilize it in the safest way possible, but I do miss people.
Well, you want to, something interesting about, even Bill Wilson wrote, so Bill Wilson was the co-founder, one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Even Bill Wilson wrote that if we're not careful, we can have an unhealthy dependence upon, he wrote, even AA.
I can see that now.
And we've learned whether or not we have that. All of a sudden, it's not there.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's there in a different form. And what I've been forced to do, is I've really had to look at, is that my only coping skill?
Oh, yeah.
Are my meetings that I go to, and I like to go to a meeting every day if I can. I just love them. I love the people. I love the interaction. And all of a sudden, there's no physical meetings. What else do I have in my tool bag, right? Yeah. And so, listeners, ask yourself that question as you sit here today, right? And you are your anxiety's increased. You got those waves of depression.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. What else do you have in your tool bag?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I think people should, either take a look at or check into is, am I so stuck in the only way of doing it? Because quite the opposite. I've met people or talked to people who are unwilling to accept change and are not willing to go to a Zoom meeting, and all they want is real meetings. And when that's not available, they also have no other coping skills, but they're not willing to utilize anything new. Right. And so take a look at how willing are you to change? How willing are you to...
I almost feel like you're talking about me.
I'm not, Bob.
Because
if I could wink, I would wink right now.
I don't dig my feet in, but I'm like, these online meetings are they're just...
I wasn't talking about you, but...
I'm not used to them, but I have a lot of other tools, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. When you say that, I understand how people can go, they just...
And that might be it for right now. I mean, that might be, if you need a meeting, the only option. So
take advantage of it.
So take advantage of it, or at least check it out before you judge that you don't like it.
Well, and especially, if you're the person who is, so here's my experience with 12-step. It's my first year and a half or so. The only interaction I had with other recovering people was when I was at meetings.
True. Yes.
I got a lot of phone numbers, and I gave my phone number out, but I was scared to, I wasn't making the calls, and I didn't have all of that. It took me a while to really jump into the whole thing. And so, what I'm doing now is I'm not going to a whole lot of Zoom meetings. I go to a few, online meetings. But I'm calling people on a regular basis. Every day I have conversations with other recovering people. Like, that's my whole community.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that are probably sitting in the same spot that I was sitting in the first year and a half I was
difficult.
in. 12-step is I don't have that. And so I better be going to those meetings. Yeah. And when I'm on those meetings, I might want to ask, hey, can I communicate with some of you guys offline here? Because I need that constant communication.
Well, and that's the one thing I noticed, though. It's so funny because people I've known for my whole sobriety, like, oh, that's so-and-so, or oh, that person, I have now built relationships with.
Got it.
Women especially.
Outside of the meetings.
Outside of the meetings, because now we're talking to each other. Now there's smaller groups on Zoom. Now there's 5 people in the women's meeting, so you're actually talking to people now.
Right.
And so I've accumulated relationships that I've always known the people, but now I know the
They're
people.
Deeper.
Yeah, and so I've built some really, really healthy, amazing relationships with women that I think I wouldn't have had, because it's, for me, you go to AA, but right before you socialize, hi, how are you, but you're not really getting to know people.
Right.
And so I've had the opportunity to really get to know some amazing people, and so it's been a benefit to me to have to change that up and actually talk to people one-on-one and reach out to people, because now I need that coping skill. I need to utilize that. And like you said, I mean, I'm a social person, so I build rapport with people. I talk to people. I don't mind calling or giving out my phone number. So in that sense, it's been healthy for me, because I am talking one-on-one to people, just like you said now.
Well, and so I also talked about other coping skills. We got to have a lot more tools in our tool bag, right? And so just to mention those for those that are sitting out there going, okay, I hear you, Bob and Melissa. Yes, I'm anxious. Yes, I've been having waves of depression. Yes, I don't want to feel this way, but, and I heard you say something about tools in the tool bag, but what are those specifically, right? And so I want to ask you, for your family, and you have like a few different things going on. You guys are all in recovery. Even though, and I have to say that because the entire family's in the recovery process. Your 15-year-old daughter has grown up with alcoholism and mental health around her her whole life. She's in the recovery process. But she's also, and certainly not to stereotype or blanket anything, but she's also a 15-year-old girl in today's world.
Right.
So she's got her own stuff going on, right? And so, and we, and then what's going on with your husband? He's back to work now, so he's better.
Week,
and then your own personal stuff, right?
Right.
What are some of the coping skills that you guys as a family have been making sure that you do, maybe on a daily basis? But what does that look like for you?
So we communicate with each other. That's our first one. If one of us is feeling less than happy, I guess. I mean,
So do you guys check in with each other every day? Like, how's everybody doing today?
every day.
Okay,
Every
cool.
day. How are you
Cool.
feeling today? And if one of us isn't feeling well, is there anything I can do personally to help you with that? Or is that something you need to figure out on your own? Because there's a lot of things I can't help my husband with.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I want to highlight that because I had to go through a growth period with my wife when something was going on with her. I had this old sort of, I don't know, groove in the record or something when, like, I'm a fix-it guy.
Yeah.
And it's my own discomfort. When things aren't okay around me, I start to feel funky and I just want it fixed right now so I feel okay, right? There's a selfishness in it. And I had to learn to do exactly what you just said.
I had to learn to do that too.
Are you okay? And if the answer is no, is there anything that I can do about it? And if the answer is no, not
has
right
nothing to do
now,
with you.
then the response is, I'm here if you need me.
And that's what it looks like for all of us.
Right.
Because it feels like it's me because we're together alone for 3 months in a house, but it's not. You know, and so we're able to say that to each other, and he has his own program he works, I have mine. So checking in with each other, checking in with our daughter, and then after that, I do a lot of like writing.
So like journaling.
Yeah, whether it's
Got it.
journaling, sometimes it's step work, sometimes it's just writing how I'm feeling so I can reflect on that over like the next week to see if I still feel the same. I've tried to teach my daughter to do that. My husband's not much of a journaler. I offer that, but he says that doesn't work for him. And so, you know, he doesn't utilize that, but my daughter writes. And so we use that tool. Reading, like, she likes to read books. It gets her out of herself. It helps bring her into her imagination. So that takes her out of whatever she's feeling. Any kind of book. It could be a Stephen King book. It doesn't matter. She reads. I read more like either spiritual or like meditation for the day, like AA books or books that offer me hope or even spiritual books that help me. Pray. I've been doing a lot of praying.
Yeah.
A lot of like desperate praying.
Well,
a
and
lot of
that's
not desperate praying.
And that's a tool that I want to, I really want to highlight that to everybody because when we talk about prayer, some people shut down. They close off as soon as you say that. And what I want to say to you is that there are many, many forms of prayer.
Right.
And there are many, many things or entities or gods or whatever that you want to pray to. And there are many non-religious ways of praying as well. And so when we say pray, we don't want you to shut down to the idea of praying, man. What it is just simply, sometimes I'll ask the universe for help or clarity or, guidance or show me a sign or whatever, right? It's the act of
letting it out of me.
Getting it out there, man. Yeah.
Those are tools. I would like to say I meditate. That's a great one. I don't personally meditate. I do offer that to my daughter. I don't know if she's doing it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot for me is talking to other people, even if it's not AA. I mean, just checking in with people, seeing how other people are, like trying to get out of my own head. There's been a lot of that. And recently I've realized like how much it can impact like when you're home and like even slipping into sadness. Our family pet passed away on Monday.
Yeah.
And so to have to be there for my daughter, and so I've been watching her go through this mourning period and seeing if she has any healthy coping skills. And I'm going to be honest, a year ago she didn't have anything. I mean, we could be looking at mental health breakdown over this, and this time it was like a normal healing process. I watched her mourn for her pet, and I watched her progress through that and then talk to people about it and have conversations.
I want to say something to you, and maybe I'm talking to everybody when I say this. I want to thank you for stopping everything in your life, because we can get real wrapped up in the chit chat on social media and the stuff that goes on in the news and everything that's going on around us. And I'm not discounting the serious topics, but there's a lot of stuff that I can get really wrapped up in right now. And I could minimize something as important as helping my kid through a grieving process or allowing them to have that space to do that. And so I want to thank you for taking the time to shut all the noise off, to really be present for your daughter. That maybe is one of the most important coping skills that I'm going to throw out there. We're going to take a break. For those of you that are listening, is I know that there is a lot to get wrapped up in right now. There is a lot of reason, if I give myself reason to be anxious or depressed or yelling at people or whatever, right? And people would probably forgive me today if I went off and I said, well, I'm under a lot of stress, aren't we all, right? But we need to take time every single day to stop that noise, to stop that noise and really look at what's sitting in front of us and what's valuable. What can I do something about?
Yeah.
Am I wrapped up in the stuff that I have no control over, and I'm so wrapped up in that I'm missing the stuff right in front of me that I should be paying attention to, right? And so slow your roll.
I haven't heard that in a while.
So, I'm going to say what I say to the kids, and they hate when I do that. Slow your roll and miss me with that stuff. They don't like when I do that either. Miss me with that other madness, right, that's going on, because there are a lot of important things sitting right in front of me that I need to be paying attention to. I am sorry that you guys lost Max.
Oh, thank you so much.
I am sorry that you guys had to go through that. It is tough losing a pet.
Yeah, that was.
And I'm grateful that you can be the amazing parent that you and Richard are to your daughter, so that you could allow her to go through that and not have to do it alone,
Yeah.
We need to be there for our kids. We'll come back in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about coping skills, and we're going to talk about what's going on nationwide, because I think it's really important that people know, we talk about this mental health stuff all the time, but if we're not careful, we can be overrun by it because of current conditions. I'm Bob Sharits. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. We'll be back in a minute.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether, brought to you by the Ad Council.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
This is Noelle Hallaby from Family Law at Home, and here to provide you some tips during this uncertain time. Many of you are asking, I've heard that the courts are closed. What happens if I have an emergency? And what if I'm suffering from domestic abuse? Well, the courts remain open to assist you in an emergency. And an emergency includes if your child is being removed from the state of California, if there's a risk of abduction or irreparable harm to your children, but also the court will definitely handle any request for a domestic violence restraining order. If you or your children are suffering from domestic abuse, act now. Protect yourself. Do not be concerned that the courts are operating on a limited basis. The courts remain available to hear and handle any domestic violence petition. Stay safe. Stay safe from the virus during this time, but also stay safe from abuse. And act now.
All right, great practice. It's time to clean up now. Who wants to help clean up the dugout?
Choose me, bottles and cans are with real money.
That's right, Los Angeles County. Recycling beverage containers puts cash back in your pocket, and it's great for the environment, too. Every year, more than 24 billion CRV-eligible beverage containers are sold in California, and nearly a quarter of them end up in landfills, where they can take more than 100 years to break down. Do your part and recycle your beverage containers. Visit cleanla.com to find out more. A public service message from the city of Santa Clarita.
I'm Matt Denny, CPA, with Denny & Company, LLP, your hometown CPAs. Here are some tips to help you with anxiety you may have about your income tax returns for 2019. The deadlines for filing both state and federal returns have been extended to July 15. Both the state and the feds are also extending the time for making 2019 tax payments otherwise due, without interest or penalty, to July 15. These details keep changing, so contact us at 661-286-8860 or see our website at dennyllp.com.
Your hometown station.
I got no excuses.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits in studio with Melissa Flowers today. And, since the onset of the Way Out Recovery Hour, we have always talked about the importance of checking in with your mental health and your substance use. I cannot state that enough. And so it may have sounded like this show was just another one of those shows going, check in with yourself. And in a way it is. It's always present. It's always there. If you have suffered with mental health or substance abuse in the past, you're more likely for it to surface again.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that once that's in the brain, your brain sort of remembers that, and it's one of the grooves that you can fall back into. And so we have to have an ongoing program of recovery. Also, from a disease model aspect, it's a lot like diabetes, where if you're not keeping it in check all the time on some level, you can get real out of control real quick. And but if you are, and you're managing your mental health issues or your diabetes, you're as close to normal as you can ever be.
Right.
And people can't, if people don't, well, I don't know if this is true for me. I kind of wear it all over the place. But if I don't tell people I'm in recovery, if I don't tell people I'm a recovering drug addict, they don't just automatically assume that. If I don't tell people that I have underlying mental health issues, it's not present if I'm taking care of it. If I'm not taking care of it, it is apparent to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone around me is going, whoa, what's up with Bob, right? And so it's like that. So I cannot ever stress the importance enough of us taking care of ourselves on a regular basis.
Yeah.
However, right now it is increased so much. There's a lot of studies out there. Before we came in, I was reading an article that was put out by the New York.
By the Washington Post.
By the Washington. I'm sorry. It mentions New York in there as far as healthcare workers.
Yes.
The Washington Post put out an article. There's many different studies that are out there right now. Mental health and substance abuse has dramatically increased since the beginning of this pandemic. We've seen it off the just nonstop phone calls, right? It's people are suffering and struggling right now. One of the scariest things, and I know that you read this article as well, is that the people that are in some ways suffering the most as far as mental health goes are the very people that are the most essential, that are the healthcare workers put in place to try to help people through this pandemic. You've got doctors that are committing suicide because they're so overwhelmed with the influx of people and watching families watching their loved ones die right in front of them, and they can't do anything about it. And so the overwhelm in essential workers is creating mental health issues in the very people who need to be helping. So we all want to be helpful. We all want to be the person that steps up and eases suffering. Everybody does that. And I can't say enough about the people that are really in the front lines doing it. The nurses and the doctors and the first responders. But also, how about the grocery store worker?
I was just thinking that.
My God, can you imagine what that? And I stopped and I asked the guy. So maybe 2 months ago, there's this Walmart that I go into on a regular basis, and there's this guy that sits there, and he's a greeter, and he greets you on the way out, right? And he's probably, I don't know, I would guess he's in his 60s. And I've had conversations. We joke around a little bit. We've said hi to each other over the years that I've been in and out of this place, right? And about a month and a half ago, I stopped, and I said, "How are you doing?" And it was almost like he almost started crying when I asked him that question.
Yeah.
But he goes, "Thank you so much for asking me that." And we sat and had a little conversation. He's like, "It's just been nonstop for us and hard."
Yeah.
And we don't think about those guys, right?
Yeah, I in the last 2 months, I've been saying thank you to people that normally I walk right past, whether it's, the guy delivering my groceries, or walking in somewhere and saying, thank you for still having your job, because we need you. And I think it gets overlooked a lot. And so recently I've been saying thank you to people that normally I would take for granted because it's their job.
Right.
And so I've realized the people that are essential are more than just, as much as I appreciate the doctors and the nurses and the frontline workers and the fire department and everybody who's, going out into this, walking into it, so is the guy, checking you out at, the grocery store.
So maybe that's a message to the general public to be kind to each other,
Be
right?
kind.
Like, we're all standing in line.
Yeah.
We're all standing in line right
Yeah.
now, right? And so, slow down and don't be a jerk about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're all, and there are, there's these minimum wage workers sitting in the middle of it that are asked to direct and control us impatient people who want to hurry up and get it done.
It's
You
true.
know?
No,
Like,
it
it sucks
is,
for them.
Yeah, it does, and they're still working.
So
They're still
so I
showing up
guess
there.
personally,
And when everything else was closed, they were still working.
personally, I need to ask myself to not be a jerk.
Yeah.
To anybody out there,
Yeah.
don't
And in
slow
this
down.
time, have patience.
Yeah.
I hear all the time, patience is a virtue, but you don't really think about it until you're given the opportunity to be patient. And I have been able to slow myself down and not honk at the guy who's turning and not push the guy who didn't follow the directions and stand on the the X, and just to go, okay, because there's no point.
We're all doing the best we can.
We're all doing the best we can with what we have, and so it's given me an opportunity to be patient and show that to other people and be kind and just be kind. Like, how are you today? Like what you said. I do that. I'll stand in line now and I tell the person behind me, how are you today?
So maybe that's the message that we leave
nice.
with. We want to, we want to help each other. We want to support each other. Give us a call at 661-296-4444. That's our office number, and we will get back to you. We've had a lot of people calling us. There are not enough really services out there for all the people that have anxiety and depression, and we are going to do the very, very best that we possibly can to try to get you the help that we possibly can. Melissa, I can't say enough about, we know each other, personally, our families know each other. I love you very much. I'm glad we're together in this. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And anybody who's out there, please give us a call. And remember that this is just something we're going through. We can grow from it, we can learn from it, and we can do well in it. So I'm Bob Sharits. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour, and we are going to end this show right on time.